We are joined today by Inessa Burdich, and Inessa is a spiritual science researcher, a therapeutic consultant, and coach. She's a business consultant and has worked with Veleda among other companies. She teaches courses on anthroposophical meditation and supersensible perception. And she also has a background, very interestingly, in physics and nanotechnology and international business. So a great combination of things. So Inessa, welcome to the Spiritual Scientist podcast.
Hello, everyone, and thank you, Mick, to inviting me here.
You're very welcome. I'd heard about you through various friends around the place about your work and your workshops, especially. And I think I first heard about you just during the towards the end of the pandemic. You had a Facebook, no, it was a WhatsApp group or a Telegram group that was doing some really great meditative work across the globe. So that's how I came into contact. But welcome today. Inessa, I think it's always really good at the beginning just to hear a little bit about a person's background, and you've got such an interesting background. I think it's always really especially interesting when we've got someone who has a background in the sciences and now works in the spiritual realms, if you like, or with people in a spiritual sense. So I've had a few really interesting guests because I think people tend to put us in a box and say, okay, well, if you're a spiritual person, you can't be a scientific person.
Right.
And I think it's really great to hear a little bit about that. So you're joining us from Germany today, is that right?
Yes, I'm in Germany,
Yeah.
so middle Germany.
Yeah. So if we could hear a little bit about your background and and then maybe how you came into contact with Steiner's work and anthroposophy.
Thank you. So I was interested in understanding of the laws or with the rules or with something which lies behind all this scenery, as it were, already on the childhood. Already as a child, I began to meditate, and I was looking through or kind of searching behind, and the kind of main part or main direction, which was on that time was possible, was offered, let's say, in the normal science for me, was physics. And then I thought, yes, through the physics, through learning more and more physics, I probably can go not only to the physical appearance, let's say, but also through that, looking behind. It was also on the time when we looked on some, for example, like nanotechnology, or it was a time when we were looking on this connection in between space and time phenomena. And it was, so all this big, I remember this writing some kind of big laws which were in a kind of big formulas on the university, and that was a very interesting for me and very important as well. And it was a bit like going deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper, but not going through. So that's why it's kind of, for me, was a very good schooling in a way. And I loved it. And I probably will stay all my life on that, because I'm by nature, I'm a researcher. It's interesting. What is there? What is there? What is there? So, but it happened that it was for me not possible to stay longer there out of just purely technical situation or reasons. And actually, I'm thankful to that for the fate, or for the fate. Can I say so? Yeah, because that in any way it was a bit like a dead end in a way. So you're coming closer and closer and closer, but you don't go through that. You don't go through this appearance on the physical world. And in order to go through, you need to be someone like, for example, like a Newton, who was saying, yes, there are laws which are moving planets, which are moving all around, and which we can, the laws which explains why it is moving like that, existing on that way, or different objects on the planet Earth or in the universe. But it does not explain who is behind. And in his understanding, there was a big spiritual beings, he called him God, who was govern all of these. And that's which normal physics does not bring. It's you need to develop yourself. And that's what for me was kind of it happened with me as well. So I need to go further. It's not a stop. It's actually the beginning, if you like. But of course, these methods which I learned on that time and approach, that's for me still quite important attitude. So it's one of my credo, bringing this aspect of the research, normal scientific research, in the realm of spiritual science, making spiritual science science. So that means that we can perform research, different people can perform the research, and we can understand, and we can come closer and closer for understanding that there's a objective reality. So this supersensible reality is actually not a subjective one, but is objective, which exists there, and we can try to make research. We can understand that, and we also can repeat this research. And when we repeat, we can have results which would be kind of repeated in a way. You see, so it is kind of one of the idea regarding the study of physics and further. And then I continued meditation in my meditating on my path, the different kind of. And then if you would ask me what meditations were there, actually there were exercises which is in Steiner. I'm not sure if Steiner call it, but they have a name now as a subsidiary exercises, which I not really agree with this title. Better to say these are fundamental qualities on the path of initiation, these qualities which each of us really needed to develop. So that's why because when we approaching to these qualities, can be quite simple in a way, but when we're going deeper and deeper and deeper, then we're reaching the levels, kind of deeper levels. So, and I started with this meditations, of course, on a quite simple level on that time. And what was maybe interesting to say that might be also helpful, first of all, I started to meditate. No one told it to me. It was not in the family. There was a time without internet. I just did it because it was important for me. That was the main reason. And I also did not have any aim to developing anything. It was just on the sake of meditation, to meditate. So to meditate on the sake of meditation without any, let's say, goal or something. Just do that because it's important for you to do. So, and for me, this is quite good attitude to continue. And I have to say that later I began to get some perceptions. Remember perceiving some auras around people, for example, or some beings in the nature, on the big trees, for example. It was just in the beginning, and then there's some beings or some presence. In the beginning, it's kind of like a presence or something like clouds, and you see, and you might not see it in a way. It's not something you see, but something like, aha, here's a presence, but here's not. So, and then again, you go somewhere in the forest or just even in the city or in the park, you go and aha, here's another presence. Here I don't feel it. And there's also presence in other qualities. So that was in the beginning quite a vague in a way. And I did not connect it with meditation. I just keep meditating, keep doing exercises, and did not connect with that any of the results. I even didn't know it's the results. I did not connect that. Later on, when I got to know about anthroposophy, I actually I already worked in business, and I just was on a business trip, which was an interesting story. And I got a book which appeared on my table. And I thought, no, maybe someone will take it. I was just out several days, maybe colleagues, or sometimes someone is coming to the office. And I thought, okay, let it be, maybe someone will take it. But no one took this book till Friday. And then I thought, it's a Friday evening. Till Monday morning, no one will get this book. No one will take this book. No one will demand this book back. And I thought, okay, let me take it just for the weekend. Just maybe I will open that. And I came. It was Friday evening. I remember I was very tired after working week and everything. Came back home, opened this book. That was The Knowledge of the Higher Worlds of Steiner. And I just was, wow, someone had such a similar experiences as myself, and it's deep explained and with different exercises. And I did not understand, let's say 60%, 80%, or even more maybe, but it did not matter. It matters that it was again and again something, yes, it resonates with my soul so strongly. And I couldn't stop reading that. I couldn't sleep either. I was just keep reading and keep deepening. And of course, I slept a bit in between. But I knew Monday morning, I have to bring this book back. So for this weekend, I read the whole book through, got out of that maybe just a bit, but huge, massive inspiration. Yes, there's these people. Yes, let's connect. And that was a big, big inspiration for me, a big kind of like a, how to say, like a push or like a step. I would say it was a big step in my development, that there are other people and they are able to perceive, they're able to share that. And this for me was very important, because I was for many years working alone. And I was also studying physics, and I also worked in business, and I couldn't share my perceptions with people. Or if I shared, that was kind of, what? So that's why I kind of was, I couldn't, I had to be quite close from that point of view, in a way, yeah, so content, not going out. But after that, I just realized how important when we're going on the path together, like a journeyman, we can support each other, we can continue this together. And then it gives much stronger quality of kind of like presence of meaning, meaningless? No, well, it's a lot of meaning. Yeah, meaningless, I think, yeah.
Yeah, it brought more meaning,
brought more meaning, yeah, on that, or kind of more volume, if you like, because when one is doing something, then it's a kind of, let's say, one line, you know, but then you see that there are other people together, and there's books to share, there's knowledge to share, there's some perceptions to share, meditative experiences to share, or just asking, how was your meditation today? And some person would say, yeah, I have done it, it's so good, and then it's helpful. But some person would say, well, I did not meditate actually. Thank you for asking. Then it's kind of a bit like a ring. Yeah, I have to do it. Yes, it's important for me. It's kind of as a journeyman together, we actually can go on that journey. And that was a big step for me for that book and for that weekend. Although it wasn't a business trip, in between business trips in a way. So, but it worked very, very well for me. So
could I just ask you about that, Inessa? Thank you for sharing your journey with it. It's really fascinating. So I think you said you began to have spiritual, or you began meditating at a very, very young age, like even maybe 5 years of age. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. And people, I keep asking how. I will just say a couple of words about that. I was, as a child, I liked to go to my grandparents. How is it when it is down like a cellar
in a cellar, in the cellar.
Cellar, in the cellar.
Yeah.
And there were old magazines and all other stuff, you know, old toys, for example, or old furniture. And I found some magazines which were about the, I think they has a name on the time, something like the Science and Life. So which was in a kind of speaking about science in the normal language in a way. And I couldn't read on the time. I only could read the big letters. And then I just looking that through, like, you know, looking on the pictures, and already at that time I liked science. I have to say that's true, but I liked also pictures. And it's some of the I found some of the article which was dedicated for I think they call it auto-training or self-training. They didn't use the word meditation. It was a taboo, no. But something like auto-training or training.
Auto-suggestion or something, was it?
Whatever, something like that. I don't remember exactly. It was quite long.
Self-training.
Self-training. How can you train yourself to be more concentrated, to be more kind of focused, something like that. So it was very simple, and I remember that was which was nice. There were drawings. There were kind of pictures where there were people lying or sitting or doing something, and you said that in order to concentrate, first you have to come to yourself, and for example to relax your body, and that was kind of step by step with drawings. It was very kind of simple. And then I was able to understand, and I thought, okay, shall I try? And I just look at that, sit like that, and tried. That's how I began. That was like that. And then I thought, oh, it helps me. Then I tried next time, and then I forgot about this magazine, and I just continued with that. And then I realized, oh, that's not enough. I can do it even more. I can. Shall I close my eyes? Shall I open my eyes? What shall I sit? Shall I lie? When I lie down, I fall asleep. I thought, not good. Let me sit. Shall I stand? I try. I just experimented with that, and that's how I began. That's
Isn't that a very, yeah, what a really interesting sort of destiny moment that you came across this magazine in a basement, um and then it was in pictures as well. Interesting, it was in pictures because you couldn't read, and so you began following it. And so if I've understood correctly, then it was, you were doing that for quite a few years before you began having spiritual perceptions of some kind, and then you didn't actually connect the two things. You didn't connect the fact that you were doing meditation with the fact that you were having these unusual perceptions. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. So it's probably just to underline that I was not born with these abilities. I really started to meditate, and that was not even a few years. I think it took longer, maybe minimum 10 years or something, while I was just meditating. And it was, of course, relaxing exercises. But one of the exercises was focusing the mind exercises, a simple exercise when you just focus on the human-made object, something which is lying on the table. For example, I have this paper clip or something. It's something which is simple. You're taking small and you're focusing, and then these were exercises. And then later, I think it was later already in the school, I perceived some colors around my friends, and I remember coming back saying to my parents, "You know what? That person was orange." And another one I remember was blue. And I remember my parents were, especially my mom, she was saying, "Oh, they're wearing probably different color clothes," because I was speaking colors about people. And that would be all good, but on that time we had to wear all uniform, which means we all were in the same clothes. It was just not possible to wear other clothes, which means by the definition it was not possible. And later already I asked my mom, "But didn't you ask the question?" And my mom said, "Yes, that's true. It was very strange what you were saying, because we were all in the same color. It was kind of brown uniform, all, and also the girls and the boys were in the same uniforms." And that's why it was definitely something which was not in the clothes connected, it was something more, but I couldn't explain that as a child. And I also didn't know it is a kind of result, I didn't know about that. I just continued, and I did not pay attention to that. Why? Because I thought, because I cannot explain it better, I just put it, let's say, on the shelf and just wait for the explanation, or to make some research when will be able to explain that. And then I had quite a lot of shelves, but they were kind of here, rather just meditating, and later getting to know Anthroposophy and Steiner and all this anthroposophical spiritual science. I understood, this is it, this is that. For example, speaking about colors, these are very probably where our emotions. So when we're more red colored, it's like our emotions. There's the strongest, which is coming usually to us. Our emotions are very social, so it's very hard to hide them. So they are kind of here, quite open. When we meet each other, we meet in this emotional realm. So that's probably which I perceived on that time. So, but on that time I didn't know.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting. So, okay. So you began this meditating when you were very young. Later on, there comes these perceptions, and then in a way, you're kind of alone with them, because if you go to share them with others, you must realize at some point, oh, other people can't see these things, or other people can't experience these things, or most of the people around me can't. So I'll put it on the shelf. That's a good way to describe it. I'll put it on the shelf until the answer comes later on. And then comes this experience of somebody leaving a book at your place of work, and they didn't take it away, and it's still there. So you think, oh, I'll just borrow it for the weekend. And then you get this confirmation that your experience, that other people have had similar experiences, that there is a path that you can take, which I guess can make things more secure and more safe. Would maybe that's one way to put it. That's my experience anyway, is that the path laid out and the exercises laid out in How to Know Higher Worlds, or Knowledge of the Higher Worlds, really allows us to, be very grounded still, ideally, that we're clear, logical thinkers, that we can bring our emotional life into some sort of balance, or we can strive to, that we can develop a strong will, that we can still be effective in the world, and yet at the same time develop spiritual perceptions that are healthy and objective. So I think the fact that you came across that book is probably a real blessing. So thanks for sharing that with us. And that sort of leads me to this question, because you actually mentioned these what are sometimes called the subsidiary exercises in English, but actually I think I agree with you very much. They're actually fundamental to any kind of spiritual work that we're doing. And basically, just to say very briefly, but there's the first exercise is strengthening our ability to think clearly and connect our thoughts in a rational, clear, logical way. The second exercise is to strengthen the will. The third is to bring balance into the emotional life, the feeling life. The fourth one is positivity. So just working to find the good in situations and people. The fifth one is to remain open-minded, to perhaps you could also say withholding judgment. So not forming a judgment too quickly about a person or a situation. And the sixth one is to make them all into a habit. And I think it's so important, and I'm so happy that you brought them into the conversation so early on, because there are a lot of people out there teaching spirituality, teaching meditation, teaching about, and it seems to be, to me, the majority of people are talking about opening. We've got to open to the spiritual world. We've got to be more and more open. And what I think is so important about these exercises is they're very grounding. They keep us grounded in the here and now and make us more and more effective in the world. But then when spiritual perceptions do come, or we begin to have an inkling of the spiritual world around us, they protect us. They actually keep us strong and safe and protected, because not all spiritual beings that we're going to come into contact with have our best interests at heart. One way Steiner describes it is that if we're not able to think clearly and logically here on earth and have a balanced emotional life and all those sort of things, when we do cross over into the spiritual world, we can actually become he describes it like this: we can become the plaything of other spiritual beings, of other spiritual entities. So it's about having that control over ourselves. So maybe if we could just hear from you about how that's my take on it, but how important those things are in spiritual perception.
Are those things, do you mean the exercises, or do you mean maybe exercises?
Those particular exercises, but I realize, there are a lot more. There are a lot of other exercises as well.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Yes, and I think one of the idea when people are going to the path, as you said about this opening, and from one hand side it's a good idea, but from the other hand side you cannot stay only with opening. In order to open to the higher heights, you need to first ground.
The heights. Sorry, did you say the higher?
Yeah, like a higher heights or something.
Yes.
Then you need to ground first on the down below, if you like. So without roots, you cannot go up, or you can go, but then it's something not correct. It can be something not good, So maybe I will say yes with these exercises. First of all, yes, and I do my course. By the way, my spiritual science research course is also in the connection with these exercises, with a focus on their researching them, because many people taking them as a granted in a way, but not really looking what is inside. And I'm proposing to look that inside, looking what are those qualities there, or what do we do actually there? What do we develop, or how do we develop, or what? And already speaking about these, I will call them fundamental qualities, we see that the first is speaking as, yes, correct, about the focusing mind, focusing our thinking. There's like a focus attentiveness. And here we have, it is Steiner brings that in the connection with physical body. So first exercise is about physical body and about thinking. And then the second one, we have our etheric body. And in the connection with our will. And then the third one is about our astral body, emotions. And we speak about quietness. So, and already we see the steps, so we have our three low bodies. So we have the body, and then we have our etheric or vitality, then we have astral or emotions. And we are kind of awakening that through these exercises. So which means we are grounding and awakening these capacities. And number 4 is about our I, or I know in English we prefer to say something like ego or self, but Steiner mainly used the word ich, which is I, actually. And I'm often staying with that I in a way, meaning, and this is a gesture of the I, I, there's like a verticality immediately appeared, isn't it? The letter I is even like that. So, and this number 4 about that, which is already awakening all these qualities. And number 5 is awakening something else, which is higher than just normal normal activity, something which we as all humanity have not yet developed. And it has a name, spirit self, which is a transformed part of a spiritually transformed part of our astral body. And we are working with that, awakening of spirit self, which is already very high. And then Steiner said the next, it's keeping that all together, this kind of wholeness, or keeping all together is very important. So physical and thinking, vitality, and will, emotions, and emotions, emotion body or feeling body, whatever we call it. And it's an Anthroposophical, we call it astral body. And then our I, or presence quality, and then spirit self. So all this together, keep it as a whole. And by the way, he's also expanding that in some of the later work to the 7th exercise. And the 7th exercise, it is the open awareness, when we're trying to empty the mind from all thinking and from all these prejudices or whatever, pictures, nothing. So it needs to be kind of cleaned and empty. So as much as possible to clean and empty that space. And this is exercise number 7, by the way, which is we're coming on that exercise, we're coming further on the path of the development, because here we're developing the qualities of not only in us in a way, but through this cleaning the space, in the space, we are able to keep this, let's say, like a stage from the other being. So before we were in us, in us, in us. And the number 7, we are coming to the wall. So we can clean that stage, and then the other beings would be able to come to that stage and perform, and we will be able to perceive them. So this is the exercise number 7 with cleaning the mind. It's one of the crucial part of the every research. So in every research, we as a researcher, we need to take us out of the equation. But where do we research? We research in our consciousness, don't we? And because of that, we need to take out of our consciousness even us. So it needs to be empty space, empty consciousness. And then the other beings will be able to come, and we will be able to perceive it. So these beings, we say anthroposophical beings, in common language, energies. The other energies appeared, and we can experience which energies are there. For example, warmer or close, or which supersensible gesture is there. So yeah, it's just in the connection with these exercises. So awakening of all parts in us, step by step, plus this opening on the consciousness, which is like an open awareness. So first exercise, focused attention. The last one, open awareness. So these are 2 main gestures in all these different exercises which we have all around. I'm connecting that also with the research. Steiner, by the way, said that by the anthroposophy, he understands a scientific research of the spiritual world. So that's why for me, it is also very important to bring this idea of the research. Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah. So maybe can I just pick you up on that, just to ask you a little bit about that. So yeah, just what you mean by research. So we're taking this, in a sense, we're taking the scientific method of testing and having a hypothesis and asking a question and then testing again to see what results we get and if we can repeat the results. But could you maybe just give us a practical example of how you use spiritual research to come to a conclusion or to make a discovery? So I understand that you work with doctors, but you also work with companies. So yeah, maybe a practical, real world example of how spiritual research works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Have to think about that for a minute. Maybe I will say a couple of words generally about the research, but you're absolutely right. These are systematic investigations of what is research. Systematic investigation and creative work for what? To increase and enrich the knowledge and deepen the methods as well of cognition. So we're working not only the results, but also we work on the methods. How do we research? How can we improve the methods? So, which means for these exercises we just mentioned, we're working on the researcher, but also we can work on the methods of the research and the knowledge which we can gain out of that. So these are kind of all these aspects of that. And the researcher is one of the bigger parts of that, because for example, in physics, we have some in laboratory equipment, and there's no human beings there. There's just equipment, machinery or something. You need the human being to start that or to program to do that, but there's no human being doing this job in a way in this machinery while doing another.
Okay, yeah. So there's no human being actually in the process.
In the process.
Yeah, okay.
Rather than a spiritual science research, the researcher is the machinery in a way, or is the laboratory, is that. So you are the main thing, or the main essence who are actually researching. That's why it is very much depends of our personal mood, for example. That's why we need to be able to bring us, for example, working with the third exercise, with this quietness, so cleaning the soul, for becoming quiet, or for emptying the mind, for becoming quiet in thinking, quiet in the soul, quiet in the body. So it's just to say it's a very big part of the research generally. So and how to perform a research, and there are two different not different aspects, let's say maybe steps or stages. So when we by ourselves start to do something, it's not so easy to validate. You are doing something alone, but how to validate, you see? Is it subjective or not? Because we know that meditation or something which is inside, it sounds immediately as a subjective first-person experience. How can we make it more objective? This is by the way, one of my questions of my work, and what I'm also proposing, and with my research, but also with my courses, that people can perform a piece of the research together. And in the same way as in laboratory, we would imagine in a laboratory, 3 people, 5 people, we have different instruments, and we are researching something, and then we're bringing results of the research and discussing. In exactly in the same way, 3 people, 5 people having their own, in a group of people having their own supersensible constitution, which we have here, researching something and bringing results together and compare. And I tell you, sometimes it's amazing how it is correlate. Not sometimes, it's all the time like that. It brings immediately understanding that supersensible reality is really objective, because we compare and we see, we never meet each other before. It's unknown people trying to perform research, and they have such a correlating results, and that makes it amazing. And this is a research when we do as we're training. I'm training, for example, the people, but I know that other people do something similar. Then you can do it by yourself, and still it's not so easy. It's good to do that in a group of people. I like very much an image of, remember in medieval time, there was a alchemical laboratory. So also a question, why do we need each other? Because we have a different attitude. Someone needs to bring the fire, someone needs to work with the substances, someone needs to work with the literature, alchemical laboratory. And it is something similar we have in our spiritual research. So we have different capacities, we have different aspects, and researching that together. And this is research, let's say, for example, in the I'm keeping in my course, for example, then you can do it together. And then if you grow further and you're a researcher, then you are in a way alone in some, for example, researching something, as Mick just asked me for an example. It's harder because you are going alone in an unknown. It's not so easy to validate. Not so easy, and the responsibility is much higher as well. You see, so it's kind of there. Let me maybe give you an example when we work with the other spiritual researcher, namely 3 of us. We are working on the same project, and this is the research of the mistletoe-based remedies against cancer. And this remedy was created first supersensibly by Steiner, and then Ida Wegman was able to produce that the first time. I think it was something like 1917, if I remember correctly. So she was able to produce that in a small amount in the laboratory. But it was already begun on the time with the research, Rudolf Steiner and Ida Wegman. So, and after that, the institute continued working, continuing researching, and it's still possible to improve because it's so much aspects there. For example, which aspects? The aspect first, mistletoe is a plant which is growing on another plant. So, which means the first part of the research in a plant kingdom. But then we are going where we have two juices of mistletoe, winter and summer juice, and we are going to the machinery, where the really machinery, we are under the earth, and we have to look what are beings here working with these machines, how can we improve this production process. Then we have a different, in this case, we have ampules. And
so, sorry, I didn't understand that word.
Ampules, something like this remedy is in ampules to make injections.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it is not pills; it's an ampules, like a liquid form. Okay. So and then we have different types. We have namely 12 types, and how to apply that. And then because it's a remedy against cancer, we are working in oncological hospitals with different people with different types of cancer and all this. And this is the first further research question. So you see, this first of all, these abilities can be applied in all different realms. Research can be applied in different realms. Very good working on that level also with some other colleagues. Otherwise, not so easy. You know, you're alone. You can do that. But it's good to work together, and we are happy to do that and continue to working together, for example. And I think that would be a good example, or how does it sound?
Yeah, absolutely. So is that working with, is that the work with Valeda, or you said that was in a hospital, in a particular hospital?
Well, we are not allowed to do that as an advertising, unfortunately, officially. That's why it was a part, as I mentioned, from Ida Wegman, and she started that, and later it became Valeda, and then it's transformed. Let's put it on that way. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. Sure. I understand. So, so that research, so Steiner and Ida Wegman developed this treatment using the mistletoe plant for cancer patients, and in a sense, you and this group are taking up that research to sort of develop it further and make the medicines better. So has there been good results with, I mean, I've heard of some good results with the mistletoe treatments, but you've obviously much more involved. Is it working?
Is it working? It's a very good question. Yeah, what we have here, we have that there's not a clear prescription, let's say, for that type of this remedy that will be that, and that. We have some ideas, but they're not so clear in a way. And there are also, when Steiner was speaking about these remedies, I think he proposed 2 of them. Now we have 12. There are additional homeopathic metals, and that they can be in a different way added. And question is if that, okay, it's like 12 different remedies. And you cannot say that 12 different remedies will help in that illness. So that's why which one out of these 12 will help on that person. And that's the missing link at the moment. So if it is a correctly chosen remedy, then it helps very good, and we have very good results. And I tell you, I'm working with that for years, and I see a lot of good results. At the same time, people who don't know, they can prescribe one of these remedies, and it's not necessarily correctly chosen for a person. And then it's not necessarily, it helps in a better way. Why? Because it is not correctly chosen, you know? And it's a bit like saying all these mistletoe remedies are the same. They're not. They're very different, you see? And these are kind of one of the bigger work, how to adjust it, how to make it better, how to bring this knowledge also to the doctors. And luckily, I personally work with the doctors, and I will say also we, because with my husband Frank, we work together also with doctors and with the different kind of research. But it's not easy. Even Steiner said it was not easy for him to cooperate with doctors, because they think that they know everything, which is good. They definitely know everything in their realm. And coming someone as myself, I don't have medical education, neither Frank, for example. We don't have medical education, and we're not authorities in the medical realm, and we're not pretend to be authorities there. But that which we do can be a missing link. And this missing link is not necessarily accepted by everyone. So it's not an easy question for us, unfortunately. So as I said, I feel really lucky that it's possible. And I work with a number of doctors in different countries, and happy to continue this work. Really happy, found it's important. Because it needs to be that's actually improving their work in a way. They can be more effective. You see, the doctors can be more effective because they would know how to work with these remedies. But it's not that easy. It is not yes or no, black or white or something, okay. Which means, yes, results are good if it is right chosen, if it is all good. And when a person would understand that an illness, it is not something, let's say, given, and then you have to give it back, or someone just come to you and heal you, you know, that's I hear very often. People are saying, okay, I have already paid you, okay, now or whatever, I will pay you, and now just make me healthy.
Make me better, yeah.
Make me healthy, yeah, or whatever. Sorry, what? This is the only person, no doctor, no medication can heal you in any way. It's not possible. The only way how you can heal you, this is for me very strong, really strong. This is you yourself. So each of you yourself, if you would like to be healthy, you need to go from inside out to make it stronger, to strengthen your inner core. And out of inner strength, you can defeat all illnesses, including cancer. And yes, remedies can help. And yes, mistletoe-based remedies are very helpful, and I would really recommend out of my experience over the years with that. But the main work is your own work on yourself. I really would like to underline that. Excuse me, this was a German word. Underline that again and again. So work on yourself. Take your destiny in your own hands, and just developing. This is inner development. Yeah. So,
okay, I think that's a great point to come to, is that all spiritual work, you could say, in a way, is about health. So, you know, it's about making ourselves healthier and more, becoming more and more who we really meant to be, but also making the world healthier, the planet healthier, the whole cosmos healthier. And really, spiritual work is about health, even in the cultural realm. You know, if you think about people producing artwork or creating music, it's all essentially, ideally geared towards the health of humanity and beyond. So just if we could just come back to that, thank you for giving us some concrete examples about spiritual research. I think it's fascinating to hear about that. I just wanted to ask about spiritual perception, because I know that you teach groups and courses around developing spiritual perception, but doing it in a very, very healthy way. Some people who are sort of critical about other people's so-called perceptions will say things like, well, that's just an inherited clairvoyance or an inherited supersensible perception from maybe from a past life or from an ancestor or something. And it's not this new clairvoyance that Steiner talked about that we need to develop out of ourselves. That's the right kind of spiritual perception for today's world. And one of the criticisms that's leveled at other people, some of whom I've interviewed before, is that they don't talk enough about moral development or character development. So, excuse me. So, for example, like I mentioned before, there's a lot of spiritual teachers out there talking about, let's open ourselves to the spiritual world. Let's get more and more perceptions. Let's be able to see angels and those that have died and demons and all kinds of things. But there's often not enough of an emphasis, or not much of an emphasis, on character development or moral development. And as Steiner says very clearly and often, but especially in How to Know Higher Worlds,
right.
If maybe I won't quote this exactly right, but for every one step you take towards spiritual perception or spiritual knowledge, take 3 steps, three, in the direction of the development of your character, the moral life. And so, yeah, I just wanted to flag that up and ask you about what's your take on all that.
Yeah, thank you, Mick. That's really good question. And because indeed we see, I see that there are for example, the exercises which we have spoken, and I see that the people can perform these exercises, let's say technically or mechanically, and yes, they can develop some capacities, but how to apply these capacities is a second question. It's a second question, how to apply the capacities. The capacities itself, they are not, they are not specifically already in one connection or one direction or another direction. It's like a quality. For example, you're able to write, but what you write, it's on your soul. You see, in a way, it's like ability, but what you do with ability is something else. And so let me first, let me begin with a bit differently. I would like to say that there are, of course, there's an idea of developing capacities, and some of the capacities which we can develop, these are being either strong or not strong or quite passive. And that's which we had in the previous epochs of the development of the humanity, where we're very spiritual as a humans. Why? Because we were still not so present in a way. The gods, they were active in us, and we were children of God in a way. I mean, we still are, but there's different qualities, and I would like to underline this kind of what is the difference there.
Okay, so Inessa, I'll let you finish, but I just want to sort of just for our listeners, sort of paint that picture a little bit. So we've come, in our ancient past, we were, you could say, more connected with the spiritual world, or more at one with the gods, or more at one with God, and then, but not so aware of ourselves as individuals, and also not so aware of our own intellectual abilities, or maybe we didn't think as individuals so much. And gradually over the course of history, we've become more and more individualized, less and less group oriented, but also less and less connected spiritually. And some people just see that purely as a negative thing, but actually what comes along with that is we're developing more and more freedom. And so it's sort of, you can picture it sort of like this journey from oneness in the ancient times. I'm putting it very, very simply. It's much more complicated, but gradually coming down and down and down and down to be much more earthly beings, in a sense, more cut off from the spiritual world. And we've sort of reached a stage now where we have the opportunity to develop that connection again, but in a new way to make this journey, in a sense, but to do it out of our own freedom, to do it out of our own individuality, and not just as an inherited atavistic or sort of half asleep kind of spirituality, a much more awake spirituality. So sorry, I just wanted to sort of make that clear.
Yeah, I wanted exactly to mention exactly the same. So we were very much connected, very much, let's say, not awakened, but the presence of God was given for us. They were present in us. That's why humanity were more spiritual in a way, but not awakened in spirituality, more like a given. And that's stayed with some of us still. So it was not the awakening state, but it's a state that it is just given. It is still, let's say, a bit like a heritage from the past time. But generally, as a whole humanity, we also stepped further in this developmental process to the epoch of the developing of the consciousness soul. That's which we are having now. We're working on that. It's this epoch began on 1413. And since then, what is going on? We as a humanity, we're saying we are more independent now. And as we are more independent, we are kind of gaining this freedom to be more and more independent from gods and to be more and more responsible for ourselves. And through that path, this is the path of strengthening the inner core. And that's, don't make me wrong, that's really important to understand. So we have, let's say, a big spiritual presence, each of us, and this big spiritual presence or big I, spiritual I, or as I said, ego, I prefer to say I, and this big spiritual part is incarnating in each of us in a different way. So it can be a bit smaller, can be bigger, and this is not that we are showing to the others. These are not our masks, these are not our programs, these are not whatever. It is something which is really the core of that. And this core can be stronger or weaker. And then when this core is weaker, then this, let's say, I is not so much present, but the other beings can be stronger present and can be giving some whatever, for example, some channeling, how channeling is happening. Yeah? So we are smaller, we are able to withdraw ourselves, and then this channeling is happening. And that's one of the way how it was also earlier. So, this is one of the way, it's one of the way, one of the state, we can say. Rather, in anthroposophy and spiritual science, we are speaking about the strengthening the I. So we're very strongly present. We awaken in this process. We can do similar process, but we will be all the time there. We will be awakened there. And what we do also, as I mentioned, out of our own strengths, we're able to invite these beings, and we're able also to sort it out. Who are those beings? Because in that previous story, we're not able to sort it out. That can come these beings or another beings. It's a bit like an open door and everyone can come. Rather, in that situation, we are really sorting that out. We're saying, okay, I'm inviting these beings. I would like to work with this, for example, Archangel Michael or Christian Rosenkreuz or other beings. We are kind of, as I mentioned also today earlier, we are keeping that inner space open out of our own strengths. So as stronger we are able to increase our core, our I manifestation, the stronger we're able to keep that stage. And on that stage, that would be able to come the other beings. It comes from the strength. So that's I really would like to underline. And regarding moral qualities, exactly that, regarding this sorting out who are coming. These are elements of the consciousness soul epoch. And maybe I will say a couple of qualities in the connection with that. So, for example, about what we speak about that we are ourselves responsible for our personal, this inner core development in the direction of the high moral and ethical development in our thinking, feelings, and our action or wishes or will. So in this development, we are considering the needs of the others. That's kind of considering needs of the others. Also, I would say think, feel, and act for the others and with the others. This is quality of togetherness. We can do it again together, exactly as Mick said. We were able to do that earlier out of the weakness. We were weak and we needed each other, which was, we still need each other, but another way. We were not able to be more alone. Now we are much more alone, we are more independent, but we still can do it together. But this togetherness quality out of this strength and out of the higher development. So that's exactly this curve which we are going higher now, you see? So, and of course, this on what aim? So this conscious spiritual work together with the others for the high aims and for the bigger good. So that's how I see that.
Okay, yeah, that's great. So just to catch
Yeah.
that point, because
Okay.
just very very briefly, but Steiner, one of his definitions of morality was interest in the other, simply interest in the other. So sorry, please go on.
Yeah, that's it. But that's it. Exactly. You just confirmed that. Exactly that. I just said it in other words, which is thank you. Yeah. And just to say, one of the very good quality here, or I would say one of the very good developed quality here, when we stand for the rights of the others, especially in the situations when we have no personal interest or benefit, so something which is just doing out of no, just like that, without any special personal interest. So and I found that's very important, and that's these qualities are in a special way developing our supersensible constitution, and that's which we speak in spiritual science and anthroposophy, and that's future development in a way. But as a like in every community, we have people who also still have some old capacities, and why it is not so easy maybe to differentiate at some point, because sometimes, for example, like Steiner, he also as a child was already a very spiritual person, wasn't he? But he even having some elements from the past, we don't have to stay on them, we can just grow on that, we can just take it as a okay, good, but it's something which is need to be continued developing and continue to develop, and then we just do that, and when we do that, some we can reach some other perspective, because then we're looking in the future. So that's we need in the future epochs of the development of our planet, for example.
Okay, yeah, I think that's a very good summary. And also, I think maybe it's possible to say as well that some of those the things that are coming from the past, spiritual perceptions that are perhaps more to do with an older time, that they do need transforming, or they do need, even in a way you could say it's much healthier not to have spiritual perceptions today that come over from the past, and we can work at actually developing ourselves to be much more present in the here and now, and then from there develop the new capacities out of ourselves, and along with the moral development, etc. So I think that's a good point. I've just got a couple more questions, just and we don't have to go too much longer, but one was just, I think you sort of hit on this anyway, but what we're really developing in terms of this new spiritual perceptions that are possible now is discernment. So we're really learning to discern, because, for example, a lot of people who are involved in more traditional religious life, more traditional Christian worship and that kind of thing, will see often, there's a few people online that I follow, and they're always talking about how, in a sense, meditation is, they think it's an evil thing. They think if you're opening yourself up to any kind of spiritual beings and spiritual perception, that it's always going to be demonic. It's always going to be negative, because they see as for example, the Bible is the only revelation, and there is no further revelations after that, and nobody can really know until we die ourselves, and then all that kind of thing. So, because there is I don't know if you've noticed this, but there is a very big swing back against the scientific kind of worldview. I don't mean science itself, but scientism, or the worldview of science. There has been a really big swing back especially in the last 3 years. But a lot of people, rather than finding a kind of a middle path there, have swung back into really full-on dogmatic Christianity, especially, or sometimes other religions as well. And they see anything to do with the esoteric life, or the so-called occult, they always use that in a negative sense, that it all must be demonic, it all must be evil. And I think, I don't know if you have anything to say to that, but just I think it's an important point to raise.
Yeah, thank you, Mick. And discerning, you mean in the meaning that we're able to distinguish what is good, what is bad, something like
Yes,
that.
yeah. Just discernment. Yeah, it's similar to being able to distinguish. Is this being that I'm perceiving right now beneficial to myself and others, or is it an angel in a demon in disguise, or that kind of thing?
Yeah, that's, by the way, it's quite a massive scene, or quite a massive area, let's say, with a lot of people there, and in the connection with some, for example, drugs. And from one hand side, let's say we are, as a whole humanity, we are now more in the developing of thinking, and when we're looking what we have actually very intellectualized everything, intellectualized study in the school already. Young kids, they're already on this very intellectual level. In spite of developing the soul, they're developing only thinking. So it's quite common, and quite, unfortunately, usual. Usual, very often, very common. So, and then we are coming to that situation when everything must be confirmed, let's say, out of the thinking point of view, and the soul is kind of almost not valid. And then the people who are there on that stage, they feel, no, I will have to rebellion against that, and then they're kind of falling down from that thinking entirely to the soul realm. And in the soul realm, there's this emotional realm, in which we are not harder to find the beacon. Where do we go, or how to distinguish it all? Is it good? Is it bad? It was told it was good, but yeah. So that's why it's kind of, and out of the same reason, people are, someone who is taking drugs, for example, not necessarily drug addicted, just from time to time having some spiritual experiences. They do have spiritual experiences, but they cannot distinguish. And that's all a bit like a sea with all different ideas, and very hard to distinguish there. So I really like that you are saying about this discerning, how to find out this, let's say, the light in a way, and at the same time having in mind that let's say the classical way of religion, which is meant to be a house of God, which is in a way, but it's also spiritually it is, but in the material life, in the social life, it's institution. And like every institution has its borders and has its good and bad stuff. And if people are going to the deeper part, they can go to some high experiences. But if they come to institution, they're coming to quite unpleasant, like every other institution, every other office or organization. There are a lot of problems there. And then instead of coming to God, they're coming to that, you see. And another aspect in the often a general understanding that a church is the only place for God, let's say, and that's kind of, each of us has that spiritual core. Each of us has a spiritual core, and that means each of us has the right for the spiritual development. So that's why having all this in mind is not that easy. So, and what I would propose to say, that first of all, it's not, when you're in the process, it's not so easy to distinguish. So it might be good, might be not good. So first of all, to kind of to validate from your different friends whom you have, at least to try. But it can be, for example, in my case, it was not so easy. I tried to validate my experiences, but I got cutted and I couldn't because it didn't work. So it also can happen. So that's why in the normal friends, it's not so easy. But if you're alone, for example, or if you are going and whatever form, let's say more or less alone, then try to compare your state now with your state, let's say a few months ago, maybe a year ago, and to see, is it really something positive? And it needs to be good moral, ethical development. It needs to be something good. Are you doing something good for the others? Are you understanding the others in a way, or are you encapsulated in something? Because there's a lot of brainwashing and encapsulating. It must be only like that, you know. It's like a really keeping in capsule. Are you still able to go out? And I know such cases quite a lot, by the way. So people are not able to go out, and then if you're looking on the side, then you cannot see anything. You only see this capsule, you know. So let's try to validate first of all back. That will help you. So look in the back, see how it is. Look on your relatives. How is it with relatives, with your family? if you're doing something not good for your parents or for your family, it's probably something not so good. If you're entirely cutted for every society, for everything, it's probably something not so good. It needs to be somehow integrated. For example, look on Waldorf pedagogy. It is entirely integrated in the society. You go to the school, you can go to university, you can go in whatever direction. So it's an open organization. Or if you do biodynamic farming, it's also, I mean, it's all this, what we have in anthroposophical medicine, also quite, I mean, open for all these things. So it never cut it in a way, you see, it's kind of integrated in the society. So as soon as you feel cutted, it's something not good. As soon as you feel something developing, but I don't understand what, so need to be kind of double check. For example, I get, unfortunately, quite, especially younger people, they are going on the path of the development through taking some substances. And they're saying it's good because they do have spiritual experiences, and because it's something else from that thinking, you see? So they definitely move through thinking, sounds good, but what is going on there? It means we open the door, and it means in that door, the other being is coming, and the other being is playing you. Doesn't matter what substance. You can take heavy substances or lighter substances. It can be cocaine, but it can be also cannabis. Doesn't matter. It is not you. As soon as it's not you, what do you develop? You develop the being of cannabis. Okay, does it help to the world? Does it help anyone? Or you're developing a being of ayahuasca, or developing a beings of psychedelic, or whatever, these mushrooms, for example.
Psilocybin, yeah.
You see, so that's the point. And let's just check this reality. Please check the reality. Ask yourself, okay, you have some spiritual experiences, but it's kind of a wrong dose to spirituality. You can easily to fall because it creates that, because there's a special rewarding centrum in the brain, especially two, and they are responsible for that. And then you kind of make it more and more rewarding, and then it became addicted, and then to whom are you helping? What is going on?
Okay. So, if I can just sort of summarize what you're saying, it sounds like we can begin to assess how good a spiritual experience is, or how healthy a spiritual experience is over time, by seeing, does it make me sort of close in on myself and become more and more self-obsessed, or is it helping me in my relationships with my family? Is it making me more effective in the world? Am I able to integrate into society well? You know, of course, I still have my own opinions and my own ideas, but can I get along with people? Can I integrate and be effective in the world? And if not, we can put a little question mark next to it. Also, I just wanted to say, you know, I'm not saying anything negative about religions as such. Like you said, I think the structure of the mass in the church, or the ritual, and those kind of things, and the community, they can all be very positive things, and people can actually reach spiritual perceptions through their religion and through their churches. So I didn't mean to paint that in a negative light. I just saw this phenomenon of people, actually, and it's good that you brought up the drug experiences, because a lot of people go that way and go very extreme that way, that with the ayahuasca, and you know, that's the way to get spiritual experiences, is to use a substance. Some people go back to very dogmatic religion. Some people reject spirituality completely and become extreme materialists, which actually doesn't add up logically anyway. But so I just wanted to sort of point out that this in a way, what you're talking about is a very healthy spiritual development that's integrated in the world, that's integrated with individuals, with families, with society, with their culture, etc., and that we can develop ourselves more and more and more in this ability to perceive spiritually, but also the moral development. I think you summed it up really well. So yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vic. Yes, thank you.
There's a million more questions I could ask, but I think maybe that's enough for people to take in one sitting. So perhaps if you're up for it, we can have another conversation sometime,
Really?
a second, a follow-up, just to see where things are at with you. But also, I'll definitely put all the links to your workshops and courses into the description, but maybe you just want to tell us now what's the best place to find you, your website.
I would say so, yes. Spiritualscienceresearch.com, or you also can find it by my name. It's also possible on internet. So Inessa Burdich. And yeah, so I would say in the website there are much more information. I don't have to explain it now. So
Okay.
you can find it out. You're very welcome, by the way. And by the way, I started also my own video channel, which is in the beginning still, but kind of I'm learning by doing.
Great. Yeah, I'm still learning as well. I don't know what I'm doing at all. So great. Yeah. Okay. Well, and people can find that on via your website as well, can they?
Yes. Also, it's possible to go to the video channel. Yes, and all these courses at the moment I do. I think for about 6 years, there are more than 300 people were on this. About 300 people were in the courses, and this spiritual science research course, and it is now I think on the 5 languages or something.
Oh,
so
wow.
just be aware in which language is that. So it's of course English, German, Spanish, and yeah, so just some others, so you can have a look. So but very welcome.
Okay, that's wonderful. So I'll put all of those links into the description of the video and also the podcast link, and so people can find you and find your work and support you in any way, because I think it's really great what you're doing. I think for me, your work is very grounded, and it's grounded in anthroposophy, and it's grounded in things like those 6, what are we going to call them? Fundamental, very important exercises that, sometimes I wonder if anyone actually does them. So, but I think, so I think it's really, really great work. And thank you for sharing it with us today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Mick, to having me here. Thank you. See you soon.
Okay, see you soon. Take care. Bye for now. Thank you very much for listening to the Spiritual Scientist podcast. You can support us to continue creating the show by becoming a member on YouTube and receive lots of member benefits such as early release videos, member only chat, and much, much more. Just go down to the bottom of the video where it says join and click on that button to find out more. If you prefer to become a member off YouTube, then you can go to subscribestar.com/MickYoung. That's subscribestar.com/MickYoung. These links are also in the description to the video. And other ways to support the show are to leave a review on Apple Podcasts, or simply like, share the video, and comment on the video. And look forward to seeing you again soon. Thanks for tuning in. Bye for now.